Hey guys, welcome back to anybody that's been on my channel before, and hello to anybody new joining me for the first time today. So today's video is going to be about one of my favourite things in the whole world, which is blackout tattoos. So obviously, as you can see, I've got my arm fully blacked out, and I've also got, if you can see here, the bottom of my leg sleeve started to be blacked out. Now, before I start on this video, I just want to do a quick disclaimer. I am not a tattoo artist. In no way, shape or form am I claiming to be a tattoo artist. I'm not. I'm actually a barber, so that's out the way. I'm just somebody that collects a lot of tattoos and has some experience now in blackout tattoos. On my Instagram, which is Holly Inked, the link will be in the description below. I get asked all the time about my tattoos, especially my blackout ones. I know especially in the last few years they've sort of actually become quite a trend, so there's going to be a lot of people that have a lot of questions on them. Now, I've already got 2 videos on blackout tattoos, but in this video I'm going to be covering with you guys not only aftercare but maintenance after it's healed in terms of blackout tattoos. Now, I've done some research as well, so it's not just a case of me thinking this is, you know, the best thing that I can offer you guys. I'm talking from personal experience, research that I've done, and speaking to a few different artists about it as well. So I was going to do like a top 10 advice on aftercare, but I only came up with 9 really good points, so we're going to go for a top 9 instead of a top 10. So yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day. So my first point is to always follow your initial aftercare advice from your tattoo artist. Now, hopefully you've gone to somebody that you really trust, so the advice that they give you should be the best. Also, hate wrapping tattoos. I hate it so much. I know some people tell you that it's better, but in my personal opinion, why on earth would you want to create a film of like hot sweat, which is like the perfect environment for bacteria to grow, around essentially a healing wound? Does not make sense to me. Will never understand it. I don't care who tells me it's better. It's not. I'm an Aries, so my opinion is fact. It is just what it is. So say I've just got my tattoo done. We'll go with my hand because it's the easiest bit for me to show you. So I've just got my hand tattooed. It will be wrapped before I leave the studio. The first thing I do when I get home is I'll unwrap it, whatever area it is on, and I will give it a really gentle wash with some antibacterial soap and just some warm water. None of this vigorous rubbing, just really lightly. I mean, especially if you've just got a blackout tattoo, you'll know that the last thing you want to do is vigorously scrub it. So once that's done, I won't dry it. I will let it dry naturally, and the reason being is that I don't want to get any sort of like fibre from a towel, or I found with kitchen roll it just sort of like balled up and went horrible. I just let it air dry. It doesn't take very long, so yeah, just be a bit patient. Once it's completely air dried, I will get some of this, which is one of my favourite brands ever, which is Hustle Butter. Now, I prefer the CBD version, which is this one here. And the reason I prefer that is because I find that the CBD actually really helps with the swelling. It was actually my tattoo artist, who is Fruit Bat Tats, go check her out on Instagram. She was the one who actually taught me to use the CBD one, and although it's not overly cheap, honestly the best stuff I've ever used for my tattoos. I definitely swell a lot, and anyone that has blackout tattoos will know that, you know, it balloons up straight away, so getting something that will take that initial swelling down really helps. It's also really easy and gentle to apply. I'll use like a circular motion and I'll just rub that in, create a really light film, and I'll just leave it alone. The more you touch it and play with it, especially with your fingers, they've got loads of like grease, bacteria and on them, just don't bother touching it, just let it do its thing. So the second thing I want to mention is to just keep it clean. So twice a day, once in the morning and once before bed, I'll again give it a really light rinse, antibacterial soap, give it a little wash down, let it air dry, and then again with the Hustle Butter cream, put that straight over it, and I do that twice a day. If it's starting to get really dry and start to like crack in the day, then I might give it a really light moisturize, but 9 times out of 10 I just let it do its thing. So moving on to the third thing, So when you hit that really annoying itchy peely stage that everybody that gets tattoos knows about, especially again if you have blackout tattoos, because it's a much larger area that has been tattooed, it's horrible. We all know that, but the number one rule is don't peel it. This is what happens when you peel your tattoos when they're healing. I was a nightmare for my hand, and I've had it done 3 times, and every time I cannot resist it, and that's why it looks like that. One, well, because it's a hand tattoo as well, and obviously it's gonna like fall out a lot more, but 2 is because I always peeled it. Learn from my mistakes, don't do it, leave them alone. I didn't touch my leg, and my leg is completely saturated. So my arm basically is how I learned all of these things about it, and my leg, I've put everything into practice and it doesn't need a single touch up. It's completely solid, saturated, no issues. So I would follow this advice. The reason we say don't peel your tattoos is because as soon as you start peeling it, you're going to take off bits that aren't ready to come off yet. They will naturally fall off and flake off, which sounds gross on their own. You don't need to help it. As soon as you do that, you're just going to be starting to pull bits of ink out, and it's going to look patchy and inconsistent, so just leave it alone. So 4th thing, it takes roughly 2 weeks for this initial sort of like peeling, you know, sensitive stage to be over with, but it actually takes 6 months for the tattoo to be fully healed and the hair to have grown back fully and everything like that. So you've actually got that initial 2 weeks where you're creaming it constantly, and you know, you're doing all those extra things to look after it and clean it down twice a day. But then you've actually got 6 months of that initial healing when that tattoo is still the most fragile. After a month it may feel completely normal, but that skin is still healing. So for that 6 months, rather than me just moisturising it once a day, I still like to moisturise my tattoos twice a day, once in the morning and once in sort of like the late afternoon. And the reason that I do that is because I find that the skin is still a lot more dry, and obviously the tattoo is still a lot more fragile, so I'm just trying to give it that little bit of extra moisture once the dry sort of like flaky healing part is over with. Now, I like to use Dr. Organic because they are completely vegan, as well as the Hustle Butter that I showed you earlier. Now I've just run out of this, and I didn't keep the bottle, so you can get it from Holland & Barrett. It looks like this. I mean, it's only £4. They have a range, but again, I like to use like a cocoa butter one. Like, 1, I just like the scent. 2, I find it's actually really nourishing and moisturising, and I just find Dr. Organic are a really good brand for that, so I always use those. So the 5th thing is that I'll always wear Back to 50 sun cream all over my body. So during the spring summer months, that is something that I find absolutely essential. I'll apply that at least 3 times a day, once in the morning, once around lunchtime, and once in the afternoon. I don't think it overly matters if you're sitting in the shade or not. I think that you should make sure that you're, you know, using really good sun cream and making sure it's a high factor. Obviously, because you've just literally dyed your skin black, it's going to attract the sun, and it does get a lot more hot, which is something I didn't really think about when I first started getting it done, but it does. So you need to really, really make sure that you're looking after that, because you're not going to see it when it gets burnt. Like, I've burnt my arm a few times now, and it just gets really itchy, and then suddenly a few days later you'll find it's peeling, and that's because you burnt your skin, and obviously that's not good for any of your skin. So because you can't see it in the blackout, make sure you're really aware of that and using sun cream regularly and safely. So number 6 is that I keep it out of direct sunlight as much as humanly possible. So number 7, make sure you're just sort of sat in the shade anytime that you can. Obviously, sometimes it can't be avoided, like if you're out and you're walking, or if you're driving and the sunlight's coming in, but just make sure that you've always got your Factor 50 sun cream at the ready, and you can reapply it as much as possible. Obviously, if it's a really hot day, you might want to apply it every sort of 2 hours. I mean, I'm really anal about it. Like, I absolutely hate the thought of getting burnt or anything, and making sure that you're really regularly putting on sun cream, because it's really, really important. Number 8, so after that initial sort of 6-month period anyway, I mean, you're going to be able to see which parts of your tattoo are still a bit patchy, so it's a lot easier to go and get those bits touched up. I wouldn't go and get it touched up after a couple of weeks like some people suggest. I actually think it's better to wait the entire 6 months to see exactly what you're left with, because you'll find that some parts will still fade after like a couple of months or something like that. So I think it's better to wait for that entire 6-month period and then go and get a section redone. So like my hand, for example, I've had that redone now for 6 months, and although I could tell that it would need touched up after a couple of weeks, I've waited and I'm gonna go get the whole thing touched up. So rather than just doing like the odd area that I only saw after 2 weeks, I can now see that pretty much the whole thing needs to be resaturated, so I can go and get the entirety of the thing done together. So number 9, the last thing that is on my list, and probably one of the most important things on my list. Now, there is so much research done on tattoos and cancer. Now, there is nothing out there that 100% confirms whether tattoos do cause cancer or whether tattoos don't cause cancer. But one thing that is really important to note is that obviously you are putting a load of chemicals that most of us have no idea really what they are into your skin. If you're not going to a tattoo artist that is really good and knows what they're doing, especially in blackout tattoos, you know, that could seep into your bloodstream, and that is really dangerous. So make sure you're going to a tattoo artist that really knows what they're doing. Having a really large area saturated gives you more risk of something like that happening, which is why there's a lot of negative talk about blackout tattoos. The other issue with blackout tattoos is you can't see your skin, quite obviously. So in all of this, you know, if I had, say, discoloration, I wouldn't be able to see it, obviously. So a lot of people will tell you that it's not a good idea to get blackout tattoos because of that. And that is genuinely a risk that you are going to take with having a blackout tattoo. You're not going to see anything. But this is another reason why regularly I will check my skin, which is really important. Obviously I can't see anything, but I'll just go over and I'll feel all the areas in my sleeve really carefully, and I'll see if I've got any areas that are really sensitive. I'll check where I had the moles to make sure, because you can still see them underneath the tattoo slightly, so you'll be able to see whether something has grown or if it just feels different. So I'm checking for anything that is inconsistent in my skin, even though I can't see it, still checking it for anything that doesn't necessarily feel the same or anything that's really sensitive, or even just a physical skin rash is good to be able to check, because obviously it's really, really, really important to know what's going on your skin. So I do this for my arm, I do this for my leg, and I even do this for my neck, just to make sure there is nothing that I'm missing. Obviously you can't be as thorough as what you would be if you didn't have tattoos, but if you are going to have tattoos, it's good to have them and be as safe as possible. So obviously if you do find an area that you think, oh actually this is really sensitive, or even this hurts, or you know there's a lump here or something like that, it is always worth going to get checked out, because you do just never know. And especially as we're putting a lot of chemicals into our skin that, in all honesty, most of us don't know that much about, it's always worth just getting checked out, because you do never know. And that's another reason why it's so important to go to a trusted artist who really knows what they're doing, because you don't want to risk ink poisoning or anything like that. It's just not worth it, guys. So, you know, your health has always got to be the number one most important thing. So I hope this helps some of you in terms of how to look after initially and after the initial aftercare point, or how to look after your tattoos, especially blackout tattoos. Again, most of this I learned just by going along. So if you do have any questions or anything I haven't covered or anything I haven't mentioned, please feel free to drop it in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of the video. Like, comment, subscribe. You guys know the drill. Take care, and I shall see you next time. Bit of exciting news as well. Hopefully by my next video, the rest of the entirety of lockdown in the UK will be lifted. So I might even be able to do some more videos of getting tattooed again soon. So fingers crossed, but take care, and I'll see you next week.